If you're dealing with a parent on the narcissism spectrum and you've ever found yourself questioning, I know what happened, but why do I keep second guessing myself? Then this video is for you. I'm going to explain to you why that happens and how to start trusting yourself. Hey guys, my name is Tari Lima. For the past 10 years, I've been helping adult children of narcissists break the cycle and set themselves free. If this seems relevant to you, then smash that like button and subscribe and stick around. Now let's look where most children of narcissists start. They start at a place with a great big I can't. They start in a place where they think things are basically impossible for them. Specifically, they think acknowledging their real needs, thoughts, emotions, and values would be impossible within that family system. This means that most adult children of narcissists are either trying to jive with the family system or constantly collapsing internally from trying to do so. Some can't stand it and have to distance themselves. Some go no contact, low contact, or they try to manage the contact some way, but they literally cannot tolerate being in that dynamic. Most adult children of narcissists who are trying to make it work in the family system often find themselves frozen and paralyzed, unable to think, gain clarity, or make decisions that make sense to them. You might feel physically and mentally incapable of creating safety inside of you. And this is partly because you've internalized a lot of invisible family rules and also are controlled by certain emotional states that your family uses against you. So you have these critical family voices in your head, and you also have the sense of obligation, guilt, and fear acting inside you every time you try to step away from those family dynamics. So oftentimes the constant second guessing that we find ourselves in when we start reading about narcissistic parents and we start asking ourselves if we're exaggerating, if we're being unfair, if we're just ungrateful children, it doesn't always have got to do with not believing that what we're dealing with is abusive. Oftentimes, it's just that the voices in our heads won't let us acknowledge what we already know deep down inside. And because we don't have a reference for a better model, we often don't understand that it's possible to have interactions with other people that aren't so heavy. And this lack of model mixed with the internalized voices and the guilt tripping that happens really make us second guess ourselves and be confused about what we know somewhere deep inside is probably not normal or right. So let's take a look at a fictional character called Lucas. Now, Lucas is 40 years old and his mother calls him every day. And if he doesn't immediately answer, then she'll start writing him a bunch of long messages and sending him 10-minute audios until he finally gets back to her. It's not that Lucas doesn't understand he needs a boundary. It's just that the moment he starts considering his own needs, at that exact moment, the internalized critical voices and the guilt and the fear of what might happen if he goes against her, those things get activated. So he tries to bring himself to send her a message where he says, I'm busy, but just the thought of it makes him think, oh my God, she's gonna be all by herself and that means I'm a terrible son and I'm gonna feel guilty. Oh well, I have to answer her right now. Lucas feels there's something wrong, but the guilt won't let him acknowledge and honor what he already feels. And that's why we get this cognitive dissonance in our head that creates so much confusion that makes us feel like we're ungrateful children just because we are oftentimes correctly identifying a behavior as toxic. Because all of us are looking for safety, we've all learned ways to keep safe in toxic family systems. And for Lucas, keeping safe means giving his mother attention when she wants it. Whatever way that you learn how to try to feel safe in your family system is going to keep getting activated every time you start questioning the same family system. Because your brain is prioritizing survival, it's not prioritizing happiness or individuation. The problem is when Lucas feels this great internalized, I can't, otherwise I'll be a bad son and feel guilty, he redirects his attention from what's going on inside him and the voices that are telling him he needs boundaries to his mother's needs and to the family system's needs. Lucas's internal direction is actually set outside of him. If his mother acts this way, then he has to ignore whatever is going on inside. If his aunt acts this other way, then he also has to ignore whatever is going on inside. Lucas is navigating life by using his mother and his other family members' emotional states as his compass. This is going to lead to confusion, burnout, and despair. So how do we move out of this reactive, obedient place where any boundary that we think of setting seems absolutely impossible. Well, this is where we allow ourselves to move into active questioning. Why do I say move into active questioning? Because it often takes a long time of questioning and processing what's actually going on inside and outside of you and in your family system before we have the courage to take any actual steps. You might be in this phase of active questioning right now. The goal of this very anxiety-ridden phase, full of cognitive dissonance, is not complete clarity or freedom. It's literally just giving yourself permission to create a bubble in your own mind where you can question your family system. Within this bubble, you can start questioning the family system through the lens of what you understand about narcissism now. Why do I say that we have to create an internalized bubble to start doing that? Because so long as all of your internal space is just reacting to the family system, you will never build an internal axis that is capable of thinking separately from the family system. So I know it takes a lot of courage in order to just take big steps right now, which is why we start with not actually doing anything externally unless you feel it's time to do that, but rather just giving yourself permission internally to question things. This is safe because you're not externalizing any sort of actual acts that might make your family rebel or go against you somehow. But it's going to give you enough time to elaborate your own thoughts about things. So you'll get to a point where you eventually get this internal clarity, and then you won't have to base your decision on an external source of information. Now let's consider another person. Now let's consider Sophia. Sophia comes from a family that has this appearance that they try to maintain of a normal, loving, functional family. But in reality, Sophia's father constantly belittles her achievement and guilt trips her for money. Sophia starts allowing herself to enter this phase of internal questioning within a safe bubble. She starts reading about narcissistic abuse, she starts watching videos, she finds groups online to get support. And then in the safe space internally, before she has to externally do anything, she starts asking herself the question, wait a second. If a father loves his daughter, would he do to her what my father does to me? Is it possible that aspects of my family are dysfunctional? Now, for some of us, just considering that your family might be dysfunctional could set off tremendous guilt responses. So yeah, this private internal questioning will often generate guilt, but it is a silent act of generating internal space for your own thoughts. So keep doing it, even if you don't have the courage to do anything about it right now. This is how you start building an inner axis that will eventually be strong enough to substitute the family contract. Now, obviously, if there are aspects of the family contract that are healthy and good, then you can preserve those. But until you do your own internal reflection process, until you let yourself in a truly safe space kind of separate this from that and question the way that you used to think and question newer, better models of what healthy family systems are, you might not be able to differentiate between what you thought was healthy and isn't versus what actually is healthy. I'm going to be honest with you, this process of starting to generate a connection with your internal compass takes a lot of effort, and it can be even painful work. In Sophia's case, this effort is the first spark of her internal compass. It's the only place in her whole life where she has the right to actually exist as herself in this tiny little bubble where she's questioning stuff in her head. You've created a bubble within which you can experience your own thoughts. And what this is going to lead to is you discovering what life is like when you actually trust your own internal thoughts. Or rather, the thoughts that make sense, that come from your inner compass. Or rather, you're going to start differentiating between the thoughts you internalize from your family system versus the thoughts that come from your inner compass. And you're going to notice that as you follow your inner compass, this generates such better results in your life, like objectively better, more peaceful results, that it's going to start looking really silly for you to go back to just following your family. But it's hard to think that your family's way of doing things is silly if you don't have another reference point, which is why I always tell my clients, start listening to and following your inner compass. Even if you do it 1% every day, it will convince you that it's a healthier, better path with time. If you do enough of this internal questioning in your safe inner bubble, this will lead us eventually to our phase 3. Phase 3 is when you're set on your path of individuation and the script has flipped. It's no longer, I can't because I have to adhere to invisible family rules. Now you're in a state of individuation. You're a separate, functional adult, and as such, you are separate from the influence of a toxic family system. You start freeing yourself from the paralyzing and depersonalizing impact of such a family system. In phase 3, you're capable of maintaining boundaries, and it's almost as if there's a firewall around you. The family voices in your mind start receding, and your inner compass's voice starts taking over with less effort. And once you reach this level of individuation, the way that you react to your family is marked by indifference. You're not having all those strong emotional reactions anymore, the guilt, the fear, right? The sadness. Now you have actual experience that shows you that that's not the way to live life. It's going to generate bad results. If you follow your inner compass, you're going to have a better life. There's a clear before and after scenario going on here. Nothing about your old life makes sense. You don't even recognize yourself anymore. You can't believe that you took all of those toxic dynamics for so long. Now, I know what you're thinking. You might be watching this video and thinking something along the lines of, yeah, that sounds nice, but you don't know my mom, or the guilt would kill me. And I do understand that objection because I was stuck at that objection for a long time. But the reality is that thinking about everything I'm talking about here isn't the same as doing it. And you're not going to have any practical gains from following your inner compass if you don't start doing what I'm saying here, which is create a space in your head where you can question things. So here's the practice that you can do in 4 steps to start building that connection with your inner compass. The first step is to pause when you feel the strong emotions that normally trigger you into obedience. So for me, those emotions were guilt and fear. Back in the day when I was interacting with my narcissistic mom and I felt those specific emotions, I knew that if I didn't pause to connect to my inner compass, then I was going to go down the same path that I always used to go down before, which was basically I would just submit myself to what the family wanted. So if you notice that those heavy emotions that normally manipulate you into submission are getting activated, you gotta learn how to pause to stop the whole domino effect of just going down the same path. So step 1 was pausing when you feel the trigger. Step 2 is articulating what you are feeling about the situation right now. Now, this may seem silly, but most people who are in such situations are overcome by anxiety. And anxiety can set off a lot of rumination. So you can find yourself with a lot of thoughts and not actually getting out of that hyper thought cycle. So when I say pause and articulate what you're feeling, I'm giving you a tool to literally stop the cycle of rumination so you can say out loud what's going on inside of you. And it could look like, my mom called and I'm starting to feel that fear again. Or I said no to my sister and now I'm starting to feel guilt. It's literally just describing what you're feeling and what you're going through. So you paused, step 1. You articulated what you're actually feeling. And now we go on to step 3. In step 3, I want you to ask yourself, what family rule are you violating? The rule might be something like, a good son never argues. A good daughter always takes care of her sick mother. A good son never leaves his mother alone by herself. A good daughter protects the family's appearance within the community. So try to identify what invisible family rule you're actually violating. Number 1, pause when you feel the emotional trigger. Number 2, say out loud what you're feeling. I'm feeling guilt because my mom sent me a message and I didn't answer her. Number 3, articulate the rule that you are violating. I'm violating the rule that says a good daughter never leaves her sick mother alone. And number 4, receive a new script from your inner compass. This just means create a new rule that does make sense according to this wise part of you that we call the inner compass. And when you pause and self-regulate, that new rule might be something like, your conscious choice might be something like, you know what, I'm an adult and I have the right to manage my time the way that I see fit. Making boundaries shouldn't be seen as an attack against my mom. Try doing this throughout the day whenever you find yourself getting triggered by those same old emotions that keep you stuck in the family system. Eventually, you'll easily be able to identify the trigger, know what's going on, know what rule you're violating, and know what your inner compass actually wants you to do. Do this enough times, and eventually your inner compass is going to spontaneously get activated in these difficult situations, and you won't have to make so much effort to self-regulate in order to access it. If you feel that you still need more support, then watch my free webinar, Break the Chains, How to Heal and Break Free from Toxic Family Systems. Click on the link in the description below. We're also going to have a Break the Chains mini immersion so you can meet up with me every day for a week so we can go over the step-by-step process of individuating from such family systems. So make sure that you keep an eye out for that. The last message that I want to leave you with is that it takes some time for you to build an inner access, but it starts with building a safe bubble within which you can start questioning things. You don't have to do something super courageous or rock the boat right now, but you do need to start creating an inner space where you can start seeing reality according to your own thoughts. In the long run, this inner space will start taking over your mind, and it will be easier to maintain external boundaries. Okay, guys, well, that's what I have for you today. And if you thought this video was valuable and you want to watch more like it, then click on this video.